This is Just the News. I'm Fida Souza. This is where we give you all the information about what happened in the country today without any drama. Our first update and our lead story is about Parliament. Now, the central government today informed Parliament in a written reply that there were no deaths that occurred due to the lack of oxygen anywhere in the country during the second wave of COVID. That's our lead story for today. Here are the details. Now, the government informed Rajya Sabha on Tuesday that there were no deaths due to the lack of oxygen specifically reported by states and union territories during the second wave of COVID. The Health Ministry was responding to questions asked of it in Rajya Sabha in a written reply. The government said that there was an unparalleled surge for the demand of medical oxygen during the second wave. It peaked at nearly 9,000 MT compared to 3,095 MT in the first wave, following which the centre had to step in to facilitate equitable distribution of oxygen among states. On being asked whether a large number of people died on the roads and hospitals due to an acute shortage of oxygen, the Minister for State for Health, Bharti Praveen Pawar, reported in a written reply, he said, and I quote, "All states and union territories report cases of deaths to the Union Health Ministry on a regular basis. However, no deaths due to the lack of oxygen have been specifically reported by states or union territories." The written reply went on to detail how the Government of India, along with state governments, have taken all possible steps to tackle the surge in oxygen demand during the second wave of COVID. But you'll remember very clearly the mad scramble for oxygen, the people who were desperately putting out SOSs, the SOSs that came from hospitals, that they were running out of oxygen. The hospitals in Delhi that reported deaths because there was a disruption in oxygen supply. It does seem that none of this has actually gone down in the records as death because of oxygen, the lack of oxygen. According to The Wire, 178 people died in the country due to a shortage of oxygen during the second wave. Let's take a look at updates from Parliament. And this is important because Parliament is where the government is forced to answer questions about what is going on. And there are many issues pressing before Parliament right now. Petrol prices, for one, inflation, unemployment, and of course the handling of COVID, vaccinations, and the Pegasus scandal that has broken over the last couple of days. The second day of the monsoon session, it started yesterday, remember? This is what happened. Rajya Sabha discussed the COVID management with the Health Ministry. There were some disruptions. Lok Sabha managed no discussion whatsoever. Members were demanding answers from the government on the Pegasus report, and then Lok Sabha was adjourned. Here are some of the questions and the answers from Rajya Sabha, though, on COVID handling. Sharad Pawar asked two questions. One, why is it more companies are not being asked to produce vaccines? Two firms have expressed interest, he said. He also asked about online education. The Health Ministry, apparently, and this is according to a report in the Hindu, said that the Health Ministry is considering the other two companies who want to manufacture vaccines. Derek O'Brien asked how many people will be vaccinated by December 21st. The Health Ministry did not give a definitive answer. Binoy Vishwam asked how many doctors and nurses have succumbed to COVID-19. The ministry said they do not have the data. Also, he suggests that the ministry keep a record of that data. The health minister in Rajya Sabha refuted claims of underreporting of deaths. He said if there are any underreporting, it's being done by the state governments and not the union government. He said we only compile the data that the states give us. Union Minister Ramdas Athawale said that he came up with Go Corona Go, but Corona came to him anyway. He said he was admitted to hospital in Mumbai for 10 days, and in his usual style, he recited a shire praising the efforts of the union government. Lok Sabha, though, was adjourned. The opposition protested the Pegasus controversy, like I told you. One of the placards that was being held up said, while people suffer unemployment in our country, the government is busy with jasusi. It was a Hindi placard. Trinamool Congress members alleged that the party's MP Abhishek Banerjee was also being snooped upon by the government. Remember, since the pandemic began, this is like first real session of Parliament that we're having because the previous two sessions were either curtailed or cancelled because of COVID. Kerala Health Minister Veena George has confirmed that the state has reported 2 more cases of the Zika virus, it's a mosquito-borne virus as that photograph suggests. A total tally is now 37 in the state. 7 patients are under treatment. State ministers have decided to formulate district-wise action plans at the earliest in order to prevent the spread of the Zika virus. The Zika virus spreads through mosquito bites. Symptoms include fever, rash, joint pain, and red eyes. There are no vaccines for the Zika virus. The outbreaks have been recorded in Africa, America, and the Pacific. In the meantime, on our COVID updates, according to a new study by the US-based Center for Global Development, India's total COVID deaths is 10 times what is actually reported by the government. Our official death toll by the government is 4.14 lakh deaths. According to this study, the actual number is closer to or is between 3.4 million to 4.7 million. So that's 30 to 40 lakh or 34 to 47 lakh deaths. So that's 4x what we've reported. The study surveyed 8.6 lakh individuals across about 1.7 lakh households. However, according to the BBC, India's former chief economic advisor and one of the authors of the study, Arvind Subramanian, said not all of these deaths could have been caused by COVID. This is an estimation of the actual death toll, but by COVID would be difficult to give. In the meantime, though, India has reported 30,093 COVID cases, the lowest in 4 months, 347 deaths. According to the Health Ministry, the daily positivity rate was recorded at 1.6, which is very good. Remember, Kerala has now reported 16,848 fresh cases with a positivity rate that's closer to 12%. So that's very worrying at this point. The ICMR is conducting a sero survey which goes around measuring antibodies in the population. They have said 67% of the surveyed Indians have developed antibodies against COVID. However, 40 crore people are still at risk. The survey found that over 50% of the population of children between the ages of 6 to 17 have been exposed to COVID and developed antibodies against it. So basically, this means that those people who don't have antibodies are vulnerable to the virus. Take a look at the age groups, right? 45 and above, about 75% of the people had antibodies. 18 to 44, 66%. 10 to 17 among children, 61%. And 6 to 9 were about 50%. In an interview with India Today, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences chief, Dr. Randeep Guleria, has suggested that schools should now begin to reopen. He said, and I quote, schools can immediately be shut if surveillance hints at a spread of infection, but districts should explore the option of bringing children back to school on alternate days. The Guwahati High Court has taken suo motu cognizance of the alarming situation of a second wave of COVID that's prevalent in the northeastern states of Nagaland, Mizoram, and Arunachal Pradesh. The court said that it will require assistance in getting a true picture from these states as the present COVID-19 pandemic and the measures being taken. Now, the worrying part about it was the positivity rate. Now, the national average, like I told you in the previous story, is 1.6%, which means out of 100 people who are being tested, 1.5 tests are coming in positive on an average. In Arunachal Pradesh, that number was 7%. Mizoram was 10%, and Nagaland was 6%. And of course, like I said, we're still worried about Kerala. That's coming in at 12%, which is very high. Only 58 vaccination centers were open in the entire city of Mumbai today, out of a total of 309. The rest were closed because of a shortage of vaccines. Civic officials say that they have only 25,000 doses left in the entire city, but they're expecting a fresh supply to arrive tomorrow. An update now from the world of economy and business. India's chief economic advisor, K.V. Subramanian, has said that he is hopeful that economic growth for the financial year 21-22 will be around 11% as projected by the Economic Survey in January. Which is interesting because it would have been projected before the second wave. So effectively what he's saying is that the second wave has not changed the projection of growth in any way. He went on to say that the overall impact of the second wave of the economy will not be very large. Growth will be aided by various structural reforms, including labor and farm laws taken by the government. We will be in that ballpark, Subramanian said, when asked if the Economic Survey's target of GDP growth will be met given the second wave of the pandemic. We must point out that this is not an opinion that is shared by a lot of people who are watching India. For example, the Asian Development Bank has downgraded India's growth from 11% to 10%, as it was projected in April, and has said that this is because of the impact of the second wave of COVID. It said, and I quote in the report, early indicators show that economic activity resuming quickly after containment measures eased. The growth projection for FY 2021 has been downgraded from 11% by the Asian Development Outlook to 10%. Let's take a look now at news coming in from across the world. Canada has extended a ban on incoming passenger flights from India until the 21st of August because of fears of the Delta variant. This is the fourth time the ban is being extended since it was imposed back in April. Indians who want to travel to Canada will first have to travel to another country, get a negative RT-PCR test in that country, and then arrive in Canada. Israel fired artillery towards Lebanon after 2 rockets were launched towards northern Israel from Lebanese territory on Tuesday. UN peacekeeping force in the border region said that it had boosted security in the area and launched an investigation in collaboration with the Lebanese military. No casualties or damage have been reported so far. The last time rockets were fired from Lebanon into Israel was in May during the 11-day conflict between Israel and Palestinian armed groups in the Gaza Strip. And on to an update from science and technology. The world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, along with 3 other crewmates aboard his space venture Blue Origin's New Shepard launch vehicle, launched into the border of space or the edge of space and returned back to Earth safely in 11 minutes. Bezos was accompanied by his brother, Mark Wally Funk, who is 83 years old and hence the oldest person to have gone into space, a female aviator from the US, and an 18-year-old passenger, Oliver Damon, the youngest person to go into space as well. Blue Origin put out a statement after touchdown saying congratulations to all of Team Blue, past and present, on reaching this historic moment in spaceflight history. An update now from the world of sports. ICC has released the latest rankings for women's ODI batters. India's captain, Mithali Raj, has reclaimed the number 1 spot. This is the 9th time in her career that Ms. Raj has grabbed the number 1 position. Indian opener Smriti Mandhana is the only other Indian in the top 10. Wimbledon 2021 finalist Matteo Berrettini has withdrawn from the upcoming Tokyo Olympics due to an injury in his thigh. The Italian player joins Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, Serena Williams, and Simona Halep in skipping the Tokyo 2020 Games because of injury. The Italian National Olympic Committee has said unfortunately they will not be able to get a replacement for Berrettini at short notice. In America, Nashville Predators' Luke Prokop has become the first active NHL player signed by a club to come out as gay. In a statement, Prokop said, "While the past year and a half has been crazy, it's also given me a chance to find my true self. I am no longer scared to hide who I am. I'm proud to publicly tell everyone that I am gay." And one piece of positive news before we leave you for today. The Kerala government on Monday launched a project called Pink Protection. Now, the project is meant to prevent crimes against women, specifically dowry-related harassment, cyberbullying, and others. As part of this project, the police will visit houses, speak to panchayat members, to neighbors, to gather information about cases of domestic abuse. The state has allocated 10 cars, 40 bikes, and 20 bicycles for this exercise. Police officials will also be trained to redress complaints without delay. The existing counseling facility for women police cells will be strengthened, as well with organizations that are voluntary. All of this sounds fantastic. I'm still worried about why it's called Pink Protection. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for listening. Couple of things. If you want me to bring you a daily sort of roundup on what has happened in Parliament every day when the session is on, let me know. Because a lot of it is important at this point, given where we are with all of the things going on in our country. Plus, some of it can be a little amusing. So I'll bring you all of those updates. Leave us any other feedback on how we can improve this broadcast for you. And here is your quiz. I haven't forgotten. We know that Jeff Bezos flew to the edge of space today and back. What was his spacecraft called? Leave us the answer in the comments section. I'll give you a thumbs up if you've got the right answer. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.